I've been part of PeaceTrain for 3.5 years, and we've known each other for a lot longer than that. You and I got to know each other through a mountain bike group in our neighborhood, but you wanted to take that to another level. Tell a little bit about what that was, what your vision was, and how it evolved.
We did have a really tight group in Denver, and I moved away for a season and started a farm and came back. I landed in Colorado Springs, and I didn't have a really significant network in the Springs. So I thought, well, I know these guys in Denver. I know a few guys in the Springs. And I looked at the list, and it ended up being a pretty robust group of guys. You know, it was something like 70 people. And I basically took some social risk, and I sent out an email and said, hey, anybody want to come play with me? You know, it was basically what I said. This is the deal. I'm going to be at this trailhead at this time. We're going to do some fun stuff. And if you want to meet me there, great, meet me. And if you can't, don't worry about it. But I'm going to announce the lineup for a full quarter. And so as we would go on these adventures, I felt a little bit responsible for making them fun. All the guys that were showing up for the various outing, whether it was a backcountry ski tour or climbing the Manitou Incline down in the Springs or go-kart racing or whitewater rafting or whatever it was, everybody that was showing up, you know, it was competent. You know, they were tenured or solid mountain athletes. And even if they were new to that discipline, they had the right mindset and interest in approaching the activity. And these were special experiences that we were having. And so I started writing recaps. And that would be a half day after the adventure for me, just to kind of put it out there. And then even guys that couldn't make the adventures, they'd read the recaps and think it was cool. And from day one, in the original email when I sent the invitation out, it was like, yeah, let's go have a good time, but let's also be intentional about coming home better spouses, fathers, friends, businessmen, community members, and bring this experience, you know, the yoga, the union of mind, body, and spirit that we experience in the wilderness together. Let's bring that union off the mat into our daily lives. And it just kind of took a life of its own.
There are a lot of organizations out there. There are ski clubs, there are bike clubs, there are people that get together for river experiences. What makes PeaceTrain different from that?
This is probably my most authentic expression of self. So I didn't have a goal for where I wanted to take this as much as the group shaped it. PeaceTrain Guides evolved out of this Wednesday's experience and is just a leveled up version of that because it was so special. Let's find the intersection of skill and challenge. You know, when you're there, you're not thinking about past or future, you're in the moment. That's meditation. That's a bike ride, that's a ski, that's a time on the sup. So that was kind of cool. It's the intersection of skill and challenge. Throw in some novelty, throw in a degree of risk, and you have flow. So these men were dropping into flow and then emerging to the tailgate or on the exit hike or whatever, and they were sharing wisdom with one another. It almost felt orchestrated. A guy that really needs a good doctor for his son happened to be hiking with a doctor who's a specialist in that space. The guy that has a really complex exit that he's negotiating for his business has a guy that coaches exits. The magic started to emerge after this one particular outing. And this is where a vision of, if I ever had a vision for where we could take it, this is where it crystallized. It was the Alpine Loop. You'll remember it, you led it. That day. It was an amazing day. It was so special. We made a video about it, but that's where I really saw all of these men drop into flow together, and they're willing to share and talk and go deep, and magic happened. And the feedback that I got from that day, I realized, oh, this is why the inspiration. That's when there was a vision. Okay, let's play with this and push it a little bit more. So we had a season 1 iteration, which was just everything from go-kart racing to light mountaineering to getting out on frontside ski days or whatever. Season 2 was in response to feedback that we got from these guys for harder days. Let's push harder, do bigger days. So we called it, based on Michael Easter's work, mini Misogis. So the idea is, let's go out and have a really big day, and the only two rules are, well, the only primary rule is don't die. You know, this is all a product of all this input from all these great men. And so what makes it special now is all of that we just went through. But moving forward, we've got to maintain that brotherhood. We've got to maintain that community and that willingness to explore at a fairly high level the outer terrain together, but also the inner terrain.
How would you describe the right guy for this group?
That man is a unique man. They can get out on a Wednesday. They are willing to fend for themselves in the mountains or the surf break or wherever we go together. Even if they're newbies with the discipline itself, they have the right mindset and attitude and physicality. So these are physical men, these are athletes. Our values for PeaceTrain guides are first and foremost community. One of the primary components of community is vulnerability. You mentioned humility when you were doing your testimony. I think that's true too. Adventure of the inner and outer terrain and good vibes. And so men that resonates with, that's a good fit. So it's a unique man. There are a lot of gates in place to make sure that we do find that right guy. But I think that for as much as we have a sense for what that is now, we all show up in such different ways. And I want to be open to always celebrating that while there will be some core components, athletic, adventure athletes, willing to go on the inner journey as well, that the type of man that might be right for this will evolve and change and shift, but that's it for now.
I think one of the things that I think is a common denominator as well is the willingness to push the boundaries a little bit. They can be physically demanding, so you've got being able to take a little bit of risk, being able to push a little bit outside your comfort zone, being able to want to explore something that's new and different.
The journey of the inner terrain is as wild as any mountain or river or surf break.
Yeah.
And to have tools and techniques for how to journey on that terrain is critically important. And for a lot of men, that's a pretty new adventure. And we're all finding ourselves at different places on that adventure. So what we found in Gen 1, if you will, let's say that Wednesdays, this passion project that we've done for the last couple of years, 20 outings, 2 years, international travel, a lot of local Colorado outings. What we are doing here now is we're keeping all that made that great. We're just leveling it up, because the consistent feedback was, well, I'd see a guy on an outing and then 8 months would go by and I hadn't seen him. And yes, we could pick right back up. But what about that book that he had referenced, or the thing that was going on in his life, or the gear selection that he had made that I was intrigued by? Like, community is built with consistency over time. So what we're doing with PeaceTrain Guide is taking that man and presenting to them an opportunity to have a facilitated experience with a platform that allows for daily interaction. What we think was the original idea behind social media, but social media, it's gone to, you pick up Facebook to check on some friends, or Instagram, and you get pulled into a political debate or a religious debate, or you buy something that you didn't need, or it's just different. It's social media. So what we've decided to do is curate a platform for men that's a digital clubhouse where they can go and hang out during the day and banter with one another, give each other encouragement, give each other a hard time for the fall they took on the outing before. And within this clubhouse has various rooms, and these rooms are going to be designated, inner terrain, outer terrain, and bifurcated like that. But then within the inner terrain rooms, there's going to be resources and content for how to go deeper and how to explore that landscape of the inner terrain and do that in community with others. And it takes a willingness to go there. And it takes the same fortitude and tenacity and heart space physicality to approach that as it does the outer terrain. And then on the other side, in the other rooms, we'll have space for men to connect around the gear, the outing opportunities, these kinds of things. So what we're doing with PeaceTrain, we're creating a platform where men have a place to meet daily, but then in-person is so important. We're gonna have 3 socials. The first is gonna be digital, the second is gonna be urban, the third is gonna be wilderness, and the fourth is gonna be integration. And we're gonna journey through life together, guiding one another, both on a digital platform, which includes community Zoom calls to discuss the content for the month. The second is gonna be just an urban social. Go to dinner, grab drinks, go for a booze cruise, set it up. The third Wednesday of every month is going to be what the original Wednesdays was, which is just block the day on your calendar. You know it's coming. We're going to crowdsource ideas for the adventures, and we're going to go out as a group. There might be 2 or 3 different things going on a Wednesday, but groups will form and pods will break off, and everybody's responsible for themselves. The club is not curating that particular day. We're going to crowdsource these ideas and live in community with one another. So it takes what was magic about Wednesdays and provides access to that magic throughout a life experience, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. And I think there's something special about that, and we're eager to explore that.
I think one of the things that's compelling to me about the digital platform is this flexibility in exploring what you're interested in. So if I'm starting into river paddleboarding, where do I go? What gear do I buy? Who'd like to go out and kind of learn some of the basics? Where do I go for the next level? Where have you been that I'd like to go try? Same thing with the other, skiing or mountain biking. This group has also got expertise in a lot of other areas. So
Amazing.
a lot of the people that are here have had successful careers in business or law or medicine or whatever. And so to have those things where you're having discussions about, I'm looking for a meaningful investment that kind of does this or that, something that I'm not getting in my traditional platform, and just to be able to discuss those ideas and strategies. For me, I'm newly retired. So I'm going through a stage of, okay, how do I make my time meaningful at the same time valuable to me? And there's a whole cohort within this group that's going through that same thing. How do you have purpose? How do you create value? How do you get better connected with your family and so forth? And so each of those components within the platform and within the group are going to be compelling to different members. And yet you have that ability to tie in with a group of guys that you can trust, a group of guys that bring wisdom and experience to the questions at hand.
Yeah, and let me expand on that for just a minute, because what we're trying to curate here is an experience where we have a wide range of ages and wisdoms and experiences that are being brought into the mix. One thing that I've noticed in the bike group that we have in Denver that is coming into this is we have now sons that are starting to join the community. And so I think that there's an amazing opportunity for that younger cohort, pre-marriage. Can you imagine getting a chance to learn from older men about how to be a better dad when you first had kids, or how to negotiate a contract for your first job? Or, these are incredible inputs that can transform lives and shape trajectories. And so for a younger man in his late 20s to have the opportunity to be a part of this group is really exciting. Now go to the other end of the spectrum. We have guys in their mid-70s who've lived a lot of life, and they might not be as strong on the mountain anymore. Man, they have a lot of wisdom to bring into this group. And they feed on the energy of the youth, and the youth feed on the wisdom. And what a cool collective of men. It's a brotherhood, but it's not just like all guys in their 30s hard charging. There's some of those guys who just stomp on on every athletic outing. That's okay. This isn't an ego fest. Go do you. But we're all here together as a crew. And the main thing is just enjoying the wide range of life experience in one collective. I think that is a unique thing.